Coming up on episode 359 of Wheel Bearings, we've got the Ford Mustang Mach-E Rally, the Mercedes-Benz EQS and BMW XM, the new Genesis GV80, Hyundai and Kia testing J3400 ports on their EVs, updated Cadillac Escalade, there's a new Honda Passport coming, the 2025 Ford Explorer gets an upgraded interior. Ford is expanding Super Duty production instead of building EVs in Ontario. Lexus has a hot little crossover hatchback and some new Audis, including the new A5 coming. All that and more coming up next. All right, this is episode 359 of Wheel Bearings. I'm Sam Savage from Guidehouse Insights.
And I am Nicole Wakeland from CarBuzz.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
Just international? Not international.
International. I might have to go to Germany soon.
Nice.
I need to do something with some Germans, but Germans, like they sent me an email over the weekend. They're like, we're all going on vacation, right? People might not know, but Germany just shuts down in August.
It's going to be in August in a week. Basically, all of Europe shuts down.
I know. They're like,
I wish we were more like Europeans in that respect.
Wouldn't that be nice?
A whole month.
I got super excited because my boss told me like on Friday, he's like, I'm just telling the whole team to take a half day. I was like, oh, cool. I was like really excited about that. I'm like, in Europe, that would just be like, that's all you're getting us?
A whole half day?
Whole half day. It was great because I had to drive to Anaheim from like over by Knott's Berry Farm. I was in LA all week, and now my brain hurts because of all the places on the planet. LA is the only place I'm allergic to, apparently.
Oh, really?
Jeez. All of LA, you're just allergic to.
I lived in LA twice too, so I don't know what's happened as I've gotten older, what's happening in LA that's changed, but yeah.
Oh well. So what have you been driving, Robbie?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So before I talk about my
I'm glad I asked.
I'm glad you asked. Before I did my little trip to LA, I had the Mercedes-Benz EQS. Now I've had the EQS probably like 17 times at this point. It's not a new car. I'm sure I've talked about it here. It's been around for a while. I had the 450 Plus sedan. It has 352 miles of range. That's a lot of range. I didn't drive it 352 miles, though, because I was very busy that week. I was doing other things. I don't know what else I can say about the EQS that I haven't said before when it comes to, it's very comfortable. It's very smooth. It doesn't present that S-Class passenger experience. There you go. That's really the takeaway of the EQS is that if you're the driver, you're like, oh, I'm getting all this cool stuff. You get the nice big hyper screen. But if you're the passenger, and it's the rear passenger of the S-Class that people are sort of
front passengers are okay, but it's just the
front. Well, you get a little screen in the front, which I think we've all. I don't care. And everyone I try to excite, I'm like, hey, look, there's a screen. You can do things, and I've used the EQ screen before to like watch movies while someone else was driving. And I was like, all right, well, I tested it. It works. And I just close it because I'm just like, but what I do, while I was driving around, I was really, I was reminded of how much I like Mercedes-Benz infotainment system. Their zero layer infotainment system, because they've sort of done away with everything. And they're like, you know what you want? You just want the map. That's all you really care about. And other things are going to surface as little buttons as they're needed.
Yeah, they show up as little widgets on the corners. Yeah.
But they're not there all the time. They're only there when you need it. Like if you have your phone plugged in, it's playing music. Oh, then the little media player pops up, and you can forward, backward, whatever. You can click on it. It'll open up CarPlay or Android Auto, or if you're just playing things from Sirius XM, if you're that person who's still doing that. If you do navigation, okay, then it'll navigate.
You know who does Sirius XM? The people that deliver cars to me.
They have to set it to a certain song.
Right?
It's like soft jazz or something.
No, it's usually some like news talk channel or something.
Really? Like yeah. I saw there was a piece of paper left once in a car that had like all the things that the delivery people had to do and one of them was like what channel the car was supposed to be on. So I guess maybe it doesn't really matter in Michigan. They're like,
apparently not. Anyway.
What's nice, so I'm driving around in this EQS, and you can tell it, I want to go from here to here. Hey, Mercedes, I want to go to LA. And it'll, like a Tesla, it'll tell you, okay, you need to stop here and get some electricity, and then you can keep going. It'll take you this long, which is nice. So it's like the closest thing to sort of Tesla's setup. But it's also nice is that while you're driving around, if you look at the map, it'll show you all the little charging stations in your area. And not only will it show you, there'll be a little number. So there's a charging station that's like, let's say four stations at this location. It'll tell you like 1 of 4 is available.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because then
And so
you can glance at the map and you can decide where it is you want to go, based on, how much of a hurry you're in. Yeah.
Exactly. So like when I was driving around, I had the I-7 and I went to LA over like 4th of July weekend. And while I was driving down there, and there were some times where I was just like, oh, I got a little time. Maybe I should get some charging in. And I had to open up 50 apps, and I had to figure out, okay, which one's available, where is it at? None of the apps are great. They're not great at sort of showing, oh, you're here, and here are the charging stations, and you can tap on them and it'll like open up. It's like, here are the charging stations, and then it'll give you a list, and the list and the charging station, they don't match up. You're just like, I guess, hold on, let me hit this. Is this the one I want to go to? Is this the one I want to So I think for that, I think Mercedes, their infotainment system is really nice. I still really like their voice command stuff. It's gotten better and better over time. Of all the cars out there, this is the one I don't really even use CarPlay all that much with, because it's like, boom, here's your music, here's a quality navigation system with a nice mapping system, and you're like, oh, I just need to go forward and backwards in my music. I'll go into whatever music I'm playing, or audiobook or Audible or whatever, or podcast, and change stuff. But for the most part, I just like leave it on the 0 layer there. So for Mercedes, good job on that. They're currently working on a software defined vehicle, and based on what I've seen and how I've talked to them, I've talked to their CTO a few times about it. I have a really good feeling about it, just because they have this, their infotainment system is solid. It's not got like weird things. They're not, they're doing it in a way that sort of makes sense. Like, it's like, okay, you don't, and you can bring up the old style with that looks like an iPad essentially with all the whatever. But I really like this. I really like the idea. They're like, oh, you know what? This is what people want. Just give them what they want. And when they have something that they need, it'll surface it. It'll pop up as a little widget, and then you click on it and you can do your thing. So kudos to them for that. And then after driving that for a few days, a week, I guess, yeah, probably a week. The last time I drove this car was on a long road trip from Phoenix, Arizona to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to this vehicle. I now have, and then this week I went to LA again for more work, and I drove the 2024 BMW XM, but this time it was the red label.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah. It is very fancy. It is their quickest vehicle. Well, it has the most power, 738 horsepower. So it's the most powerful M, which is yay. It'll do 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds, which is like, oh, okay, that's fine. But it's a plug-in hybrid. So you plug it in, you get 30-ish miles of range. I think EPA, I believe, is 31. Let me double check. Blah, 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 blah. Wait, where'd it go? Yep, there it is, 31. You get 31 miles of range, which if you're just driving around town most times, going to work, you're going to be fine with that 31 miles, and then you have your gas. And because it's a long road trip, plug-in hybrids are great around town. Plug-in hybrids on a long road trip, you're not charging up that battery as much as you would as if it were a hybrid. So I wasn't really doing much electric driving while cruising down Interstate 5. I will say though, they're was it gasoline only, 14 miles combined, miles per gallon. That's what the EPA says about this vehicle.
That's impressively bad.
Yeah.
I got on the way back in a headwind 21 miles per gallon.
Oh, wow.
On the way down, where you also have to go up the Grapevine, I got like 24 miles per gallon.
So
How did you manage that?
I wasn't going slow. I was doing 80 the whole time because the speed limit's 70. The responsible thing to do is to go 10 miles over the speed limit.
The responsible thing is to go with the flow of traffic.
Yeah, I set the. Well, I'm always
which is typically 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yeah, which is typically 10 miles an hour speed limit. People were still passing me like crazy, like in like Prius. Like it's always fun to see a Toyota Prius doing like 100 miles an hour. Like that distance, they're really, really booking. But yeah, no, I was really impressed at the miles per gallon. I was like, wait, what did it say? 14 combined.
Yeah, I'm looking at fueleconomy.gov. That's what it says. 14 combined.
Yeah. And, driving it around LA, I went from one part of LA to another part of LA. And yeah, and so then on the way back, I'm like, well, let me reset it again. Let me see if what I can get. And that drive up from the south up to the north, you're always hitting this crazy headwind at some point on Interstate 5. And even with that, and even with me going faster than 80 because I had a horrible headache and I just wanted to go home. My sinuses just get destroyed by Los Angeles for whatever. Maybe it's the smog. Maybe I've acclimated out of the smog, the ability to fight smog. But yeah, no, it was really nice. It was like, this is doing really well. I'm doing pretty good. You got
to. So what you're saying is, for somebody that's looking for a nice vehicle to use for Uber that is going to be reasonably fuel efficient, the XM would be a great choice.
Yeah, the XM, and it starts at $185,000, which is right up there with what I'm assuming an average Uber driver makes. The version, the one I have is $191,895, so a little bit more, just shy of $200. Wow. And what's funny is that you're paying that much money for a car. You don't care if it's getting 20 miles an hour or 3
You really
miles.
don't. You have
miles, or 20 miles per gallon or 3 miles per gallon. But I was just like kind of confused. I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to be getting this good of. Okay, all right.
You sure it wasn't set to like
It was on hybrid mode, so sometimes it would use the but if you're just driving on the freeway in the middle of the week, so there's not a lot of traffic, so it wasn't like I was slamming on the brakes and.
You sure it wasn't like showing you like kilometers per gallon?
No, I was double checked. It was really miles per gallon.
Seems like what's wrong?
That would be right. Right about in the right ballpark. 20, 21. If you're getting 14 miles per gallon, it's going to be around 20-ish kilometers per gallon.
Yeah, miles per gallon.
Wow,
it's ridiculous. It's a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. Obviously I'm not using turbo because I'm just like cruising on the freeway.
That V8's going to be putting out somewhere 550, 600 horsepower, plus the electric motor.
Yeah. I didn't put it in like eco mode. I had it in comfort mode the whole time. I didn't put in any M mode while I was driving on the freeway because what's the point of that?
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. It's got that weird ceiling with the lights and the little polygon roof.
Oh.
It's a comfortable car. I've slept in the back of one of these before on my way back from Phoenix, Arizona.
What happened there? Okay.
I was very tired, and so it has little pillows that come with it, and so the pillows were in this really nice like a duffel bag almost, but super fancy. It's all XM, and it's like got little
branded
diamonds like etched into it, and I think the charging cable is in there as well. So it's
a very fast economy car.
It's a really fast economy. I'm telling you, it was ridiculous. I was like, all right, miles per gallon. All right, okay.
That's not bad.
And you can see whenever I would put we're heading up the Grapevine, it's like 5.
Yeah,
it's like you're getting 5 miles per gallon right now. You're just like up the hill. But yeah, no, it's like one of the things they talked about is like, oh, it's like a rock star car. It's like business from Rockstar in the back, and I had like my guitar gear and my amps and stuff in there because I had band practice in LA while I was down there for work. And it's a perfect rock star machine. So if you're a rock star who makes a lot of money, more than I do, and you just need something to go up and down the state for all your gigs, and you have your guitar in your amp or your bass in your amp, or you could probably put your drums in there, but it's probably going to scratch it all up. But your keyboards,
all your musical equipment.
All your musical equipment, you can fit it in the XM. It's got vented seats. It's got heated seats, so you can keep your body warm or cooled. Like it has It has the drink cooler, so you can warm up your drink or cool your drink. And that thing's the best.
They're so silly, but they're the best things ever.
That's like one of the number one things I want on every car now. Is like, because sometimes I'll leave a drink in the car and I'll get in the car later and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna drink some of this drink. And like, oh my god, it's like hot coffee.
There's this weird, the first time I saw him, it's like, oh, this is the stupidest thing. And then I used them like, this is the most brilliant thing. Every car must have these.
I need to keep my drink cool for the duration of my drive.
The entire drive, it needs to be kept either nice and toasty warm if appropriate, or pleasantly cooled. Yes.
Pleasantly cooled. Let me see. Where is the destination chart? Oh, there it is. Okay. So $191,895 car gets better gas mileage for, I don't know what I was doing. Maybe maybe someone was pulling up behind me and just putting gas in the tank when I wasn't paying attention. So what do you?
Or somebody was reaching over and plugging in, so you were getting more battery.
Yeah, like someone's driving up next to me and like plugging it in.
We didn't even know it.
Somebody in a Lightning, so somebody was hanging out the bed of a Lightning with a charging cable and plugging in and driving along beside you for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how.
Nicole, why don't you guess first?
Destination.
Oh God, I don't know. I'm going $1,295. I don't know.
All right, $1,295.
Usually BMWs are surprisingly cheap on destination, like $995. But I'm going to guess that this one is closer to like $1995.
Oh, Nicole wins. It was $995. You should have gone with your gut.
Oh, I win. Yay!
$995 exactly. Oh, you should have phoned a friend.
Should not have gone against your instincts.
Should not have gone against your instinct. Yeah, no, it's weirdly inexpensive to have.
Inexpensive in the weirdest ways.
Yeah, and for your weird car that gets, again, 20 miles per gallon. It's like 20 point something. I'll go take a picture if I have to.
He's like, I'll prove it to you guys. I got proof. Picture it didn't happen, Robbie.
I know.
Smartphones have gotten way more expensive over the past decade, and all it takes is one impact on a hard floor to make you wish you had spent a few bucks to put a case on it. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not having a case for your phone, and it only costs a few dollars a month. Nicole, Robbie, and I travel a lot for our work, and we spend a lot of time in hotels, coffee shops, airplanes, and of course the Delta Sky Club. Connecting to the Wi-Fi in any public places with shared Wi-Fi puts your data at risk because bad actors could be intercepting what you send and using it to steal from you. It only takes some cheap hardware to intercept Wi-Fi data, and even a smart preteen can do it. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per victim selling personal information on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops the bad guys by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. ExpressVPN uses state-of-the-art encryption that would take a supercomputer up to 1 billion years to crack. I have ExpressVPN on all my devices, including a MacBook Pro, Windows laptops and desktops, and Android and iOS phones and laptops, or tablets. When I want to be secure, I just launch the app, click once to connect, and my data is secure. As I said, I travel a lot for my work, and I have to connect to countless public Wi-Fi networks in many countries. I have ExpressVPN on all my connected devices so that whoever else is on the same network can't see any of my data. That's important because I often have to check banks, credit card accounts, and transmit client data that might be sensitive, as well as filing articles on news that might be under embargo. ExpressVPN protects all of it, and I've been paying for my own account for years. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. That's expressvpn.com/wheelbearings, and you can get an extra 4 months for free. expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right, Nicole, what about you?
I was driving the 2025 Genesis GV80, which is all new-ish. It's not really. This is kind of weird because it's not. It's like kind of sort of new.
It's a mid-cycle refresh.
Bits and pieces are new, but they're very excited about it. So the powertrains haven't changed at all. So you still have two to choose from, and I had the 3.5 turbo, which is the same thing, the V6 that I drove on the launch program. I don't know, it was a little while ago. So I've driven this before, but now this was a chance to like sit and drive it for a week. And I liked it the first time I drove it. I liked it the second time I drive it. It's a nice, in terms of power, it's pleasant to drive. It's got plenty of oomph. It gets up and go. For the 2.5 there, the smaller engine, 300 horsepower, 311 pound-feet. For the larger engine, 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. And they both get an 8-speed automatic transmission. So driving the more powerful engine, totally fine. It actually is pretty responsive. I had to drive in and out of Boston this weekend. So I had to fight traffic in and out of Boston, which is an exercise in patience and not getting killed by people cutting you off. And it was fine weaving in and out of traffic like you do, trying to get out of Boston. So I really enjoyed driving it. Here's a funny thing. So I picked up my daughter and her boyfriend from the airport. They are young 20-somethings who are both software engineers. And they don't have
nerds.
Yeah, nerds. No, totally on point. They're both nerds. They sit down, both of them, what is up with the screen? Why is the whole car just a screen? They hated the large screen. Not a Genesis thing specifically, but like having that one big screen, so you've got your like digital
See?
that whole.
That's what I keep saying. No one's clamoring for more and more screen in their car.
Just wait till they see the new Escalade.
I know, right? I said this isn't even the most like. Why do you have all that? Why do you need all that? Why is there so much? Like both of them were completely turned off by this. I'm like, well, clearly it's missed the mark with this generation. So I thought it was.
It's part of the software engineer full employment program.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm like, this is how you maintain your job, guys. Be happy about this giant screen. So I thought it was funny that they didn't like that. They did, however, love that there are heated and ventilated seats in this top Prestige trim for both the front passengers and the back, and it was really, really hot. They turned on the ventilated seats, which my the boyfriend had never experienced. He's like, I don't know how I feel about these. And he's like, oh, this is pretty good because I was kind of hot and this is working out for me. So he was just like, I don't know how I feel about these.
Ventilated seats, thumbs up.
Yeah, he's like,
giant screen.
Yeah. Big screen, no. Ventilated seats, yeah. So that was the hit of the car. It's a nice car to drive around. It has some neat trims. I wrote about this when I talked to one of their designers while I was down there, and this one had it. They have this thread. It looks like thread. So when you look at the dashboard, like where you'd have like wood or plastic or whatever, it's this natural, it's basalt that they've turned, the stone that they've turned into thread, and they've woven it in this pattern that's on the dashboard and on like it's like around the instrument cluster and stuff. It's like white and it looks kind of like a white background, sort of like a black kind of pattern. It's really pretty. It's a neat idea and it just looks neat. It's such a pretty car. And this one is
so like on the center console where it's got that kind of diamond pattern. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that kind of diamondy pattern. That's actually a basalt fabric. They took stone and they turned it into fabric to make that woven thing. And they even had like a roll of it that you could see like on a little spool that they used to make this. So that's what that actually is. It's actually stone.
It feels like alchemy to me.
It was alchemy.
We're turning rocks into fabric.
Well, then more alchemy. He turned newspaper into stuff inside. Now, the one I didn't have wasn't it, but they have, I'm trying to find it because I wrote about it. They use newspaper and they like sort of compress this newspaper in many, many, many layers. And they use the newspaper. And when you look at it in the car, it just kind of looks sort of almost same idea. It's the spot where this basalt fabric stuff, newspaper wood is what they call it. And it kind of looks like a black sort of stripe, almost kind of watercolory kind of texture, not like uniform black stripes. If you look at it really close in different spots and from the side, you can see little letters every now and then because it's actually newspaper. But you have to like really look at it from just a distance. It's just this nice little sort of, pretty black and white pattern. No, it's a newspaper they used. So they did some kind of neat materials. I think it's kind of fun when designers do that and they think outside the box, like, I'm going to reuse stuff and use stuff in new ways. So it was their they have this, like, I think it's called inspired by nature thing that they go for. So that was their, using the stone and recycling things. So very cool, very pretty interior, which is honestly one of the things that Genesis does really well anyway. They have beautiful interiors. They tend to be less expensive than more well-known luxury brands that have comparable features. I mean, I really love Genesis. I think they look good. The exterior styling is great. It has that sleek sort of high-end looking look to it, but without being overdone. I like the Genesis. And so it is a luxury car, so it ain't cheap. So the base, this one, and now this is the top of the line. There's, I think, 3 trims with the base engine, 2 trims with the higher engine. So this is the top, tippity top. It is $81,300. So it's not an inexpensive little SUV. What do you guys think the destination is? Take your guess.
$1195.
Okay.
I'm going to go 15.
Now I'm doing math. It's $1350. $1295.
Oh God!
You said $1195, Robbie?
Yeah, I said $1195. You said 15.
$5
Yeah. So
you won. $5.
I beat you
by $5. Okay, there you go.
Oh,
it's almost right in the middle of the two. I'm like, why is it not easy? Like,
I mean, if it had been $1345, then Robbie would have
got it. So see, you guys are so close, just opposite directions. So I mean, $81,300 is not an inexpensive price point for a car, but I feel like when you see this, when you look at it, when you see the trims, when you see the features, it has, with the heated ventilated seats and with the sort of extra touches visually. And this had this beautiful, they call it ultramarine and glacier white was the color of my car. Anybody who plays 40K, that's all I can think of when I saw ultramarine. There's probably 2 listeners who get that reference, but that's what I thought of. And
40K.
It's a tabletop board game, and one of the groups, one of the armies is called the Ultramarines, and they're blue, but they're not.
Okay.
And that's I've like known that forever, and somehow like I see that word, and immediately I think of this game.
No wonder your daughter became a nerd.
Right?
Both her parents were nerds.
It should be no surprise to anybody. But there's quilted leathers, like the Napa quilted leather. Everything looks like a premium luxury car. The seats are super comfy. The ride is really quiet. It is a lovely vehicle. I actually am okay with the screen that my daughter and her boyfriend thought were just awful. I think it's kind of nice. I mean, it's the only thing is because it's depending on how and that's, this is a problem with a lot of vehicles that have the one screen that don't bother to give you sort of like a definitive instrument cluster screen and an infotainment screen, is that when things bleed across that screen, when it goes directly across, it looks neat and it's nice and uniform to have one giant surface. But depending on where you are, the steering wheel might cut some of that information. And it all has to do with just literally how you have your seat positioned, how tall you are, all those things. It can be fine for you, Robbie, and then Sam could sit down. He has to move the seat and suddenly it's clipping something, or vice versa. So it's sort of a weird thing with those screens. When it was just tucked so that your instrument cluster was very clearly in front of your steering wheel, set back, we pretty much all saw it all the time. When they bring these screens and they bring them forward a little bit, you can lose a little bit of information.
And they're so big.
Even
though I only need to see this much.
Right, you don't. So it's not like you're losing something crucial, and you can reconfigure things to, see what you want to see. But it does leave that, like, you kind of have that sense sometimes, and it happens to me a lot. So I'm thinking it has to be my height and how I sit, like how I position the seat and the steering wheel, that I often find like it's just clipping a little bit on the right-hand side for me.
Well, what they need to do is, they're putting driver monitor cameras in all these vehicles now. You know where the steering wheel position is. Use the driver monitor sensor to figure out where the driver's eyes are, and then have the software that drives the screen just automatically reposition stuff so that everything is within your view.
Would that be horribly hard to do from a tech point of view? Because that would be amazing. If you could look and say, like, okay, the way Nicole's sitting, these things are too far out, and just move them in a half an inch. Just like, oh, no, wait, the way Sam is sitting, we can use more of this real estate and move them out a half an inch. That would be amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the stuff that's in the area that would potentially be blocked by the steering wheel, it would be very easy to just reflow the screen, the display, and just move those elements either so they're within the that top part of the steering wheel so you can see it there, or they're on the outside of it. It would not be hard to do, and I'm sure it's only a matter of time before somebody does it.
Yeah,
And
I think
maybe it'll be Kia with the EV9, and they'll move those climate controls that that little middle screen area there,
which is blocked by everyone, no matter who's sitting in the car.
Yeah,
You're missing half of that thing.
There's that whole little section you can't see, and it's like, this is great, but
unless you lean over
left,
and look around the steering wheel.
You have to lean right to see it. So choose which direction you want to awkwardly lean and still see where you're going to view that little section of screen.
So fortunately, they have the temperature controls like in the center console, but like all the other little bits that you like might want to use for whatever, like you're just leaning on. I'm like, this is the one thing on this car that's like doesn't make any sense. You're like,
well, there's that and this where the start stop button is.
I'm fine with that.
Remember where is it? I don't even remember where it is on the.
It's on the stock on the inner part of the stock where the shifter is on the EV9.
That's right. Okay.
So you have to reach around behind the steering wheel with your thumb to press it. Yeah, I mean, you get used to it, but it's still kind of awkward.
They spend so much time trying to make these things all perfect, all of the focus groups they go through. And then when we start driving things, you're like, this is silly. Like we're in it for 5 minutes.
It's the same silly thing.
Right? It's not like we've been driving, like we all have to drive it for a whole week, or it's like we've been in the car for 5 minutes. We've gotten to the coffee break on the first drive. Why'd you guys do that? Yeah, we're all wondering. I can imagine they're like, crud. Everyone else said this was fine. They've been in this car for an hour to 15 minutes. They all hate this feature. That's weird.
They all hate this one crazy thing you won't like about your EV9.
You'll hate, yeah.
at least Genesis, didn't put the vent controls in the touchscreen.
Okay, so I'll give them that. Yeah, that's my biggest.
Oh, I use the vent controls so much on the way to LA and back. And
yeah, I'm sure.
I ended up driving 2 BMWs.
Down on you?
Right?
Yeah, because I wanted blasting on me when I'm going. Then once I got to a certain point, like my hands are kind of getting cold, so I want the cabin to stay cool, but I don't want frozen fingers. So I adjust the vents. Like I adjust the vents constantly, especially on long drives.
I do too.
You're always adjusting things.
Everybody does.
Every time I complain about it on social media, people are like, "What's wrong with you? No one ever adjusts the vents." I'm like, I always adjust the vents.
Well, you know who that is complaining? It's the designers. It's the designers who came up with that stupid idea.
They're like, you don't.
Yeah, they're the ones. They have a lot of troll accounts where you're just like, nah, man, no one ever touched the vent. What are you talking about?
Okay, fine. Then don't move the vents. You're a lunatic. Who doesn't move the vents on their car? As the sun passes through your car and you're at one point it's hot, the next point it's not. You're moving the vents around. Like you said, you want your hands to freeze, but you still want cold air. You're going to change things up. Normal people move the vents. Stop putting them in infotainment. Not you, Dennis. Everybody else.
And we know there are engineers and designers that listen to this show. Mm-hmm. So please.
Don't do it, guys. Just
take our advice on this one.
When you like we could just put that in the screen. Somebody else in your team, somebody else in the team, slap his hand and go, don't do it. Don't do it. They're all going to hit it. And they're going to pick on you.
Because you're adding complexity to the car. Whereas a lot of stuff they put in the screen, you're like, oh, we're reducing complexity because we don't have to have a wiring harness. There's not a wiring harness for that little nub that sticks out of your vent. You just grab it and move it with your fingers.
Even if it reduces complexity from a design perspective, it creates complexity from a user point of view. Having to go into your screen and hold it down and drag it.
It's a worse user experience.
Yeah, it's a terrible user experience. I don't care how seamless it becomes from an engineering point of view. It is a terrible user experience. Which has nothing to do with Genesis.
My hands.
Something I hate. Genesis didn't have those. You're fine, guys. Your controls for
good job.
Your AC and your heat were just fine, and I liked that. It was So overall I liked it. I mean, I do. I like Genesis a lot. I like the brand a lot. I like driving them. I feel like they do the luxury car thing that they're supposed to do. They come off like the luxury cars that they are at a more affordable price point.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I had the Ford Mustang Mach-E Rally, which is the latest variant of the Mach-E. This is the one they first showed it as a prototype last year at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. And then later in the year, they announced, yep, we're going to put this in production. And then they did a drive program out at the Dirtfish Rally School in Washington about a month and a half ago. It doesn't actually go on sale until November of this year. So if you go,
I've seen it everywhere. I guess it's fine
They've
because
got them.
November
They've
is
got
kind
them.
of rainy. The
They've got
fall's
them
the
in the
best
press
time.
fleet. We're driving them, but you can't actually get one till November.
Oh,
So,
that's a bummer.
but that works out because just in time for winter. And
Yeah.
if you want the highest performance version of a Mach-E, like the equivalent of the GT, because this has the same powertrain setup that's in the GT. So 480 horsepower, 700 foot-pounds of torque. So lots of power in this thing. But unlike the GT, this one has it's been lifted up about an inch. So it's got about an inch more ground clearance, which if you live somewhere where you get lots of snow, very handy. It also has, instead of the 20-inch wheels, and I think they were, so the GT comes with 245 45 R20 tires, performance tires, or you can get it with all-season tires. On the Rally, they're 235 55 R19s. And
Yeah.
so you get a little bit smaller wheels, a little more sidewall, a little bit slightly narrower, so they're going to be excellent in driving in snow. And it comes from the factory with Michelin Cross Climate 2 all-weather tires. So these are not like your typical all-season tires. These actually have more capability for snow, but they're not like full-on winter tires. So they're kind of in between an all-season tire and a winter tire. So they're better in the winter than all seasons.
And they're Michelin, so they'll last longer.
Yes, they should give you lots of lifespan, and they look cool too. The tread pattern they've got this sort of arrow like directional tread pattern. It's pretty cool looking tire. So with that extra bit of sidewall you got there from being a 55 versus a 45, and the extra ground clearance, this thing actually rides really well, especially here in Michigan. Drove it around quite a bit over the course of a week. I put, about 250 miles, I think, on it over the course of a week. And it was fantastic. I really like this car. I've always liked the Mach-E. I like, it's a reasonable size. It's not too big, but it's roomy inside. It's got lots of space for your stuff. We took last week we took the dogs to the lake and had the paddleboard and a couple little beach chairs and blanket and assorted other stuff, and everything. There was a place for everything. It's got a good sized frunk, to put the damp stuff in there at the end of the lake session, and then it's lots of room in the back for the paddleboard and the chairs and stuff. So it's a really nice car to drive, and it's fast. Do 0 to 60, I think, in 3.4 seconds. So it's plenty quick. The charging speed is modest. It's not the fastest charging, but it'll charge at 150 kilowatts, and it'll stay in that 150 kilowatt range out to about 40% state of charge, and then start gradually ramping down. And the Mach-E was one of the first non-Tesla vehicles to get updated back in March with access to Tesla superchargers. So it's got plug-in charge support on superchargers. Mach-E owners prior to July 1st could get a free adapter to use the NACS connector, the J3400 connector, and plug that into your CCS port on the car. My local supercharger station here has a magic dock, so I didn't need that, and they didn't ship an adapter with the car when they brought it over. But I just used the magic dock, and it was fine. And I also tried it at an Electrify America charger nearby, and that one worked fine, just as well. Plugged it in, everything was good, no problem at all. The plug-in charge worked great. Just plugged it in, waited about a minute, and started charging. So that was all good. Let's see what else. The infotainment system, it's been the interface has been tweaked a little bit since the Mach-E first came out in 2021. But but it's still fairly responsive. It's pretty easy to use, easy to find stuff. They do have an addition in the drive modes. You still have the I think was it Whisper, and then the kind of the normal mode, and then the unbridled mode, which gives you the most sound, but it's all sound on the inside, so it gives you a little bit of a Mustang kind of growl, but it's not just trying to replicate a V8, but trying to give you a little bit of a sound of performance. But in that mode,
like a herd, not herd, a bunch of horses. It's like
there you go,
a herd of horses, a horse herd, as you would.
But there's the there's an extra setting in there, so in each of those drive mode settings, you've got the one pedal. You can turn the one pedal mode on and off, turn the sound on and off, and other stuff. They added it for the Rally. They added the Rally Sport setting, which changes the thresholds for the slip control system, for the traction control and stability control. So if you're trying to drift it on a dirt road, you can get the back end to come around a little bit more and have some fun with it. And I played around a little bit with that on some back roads here, some unpaved back roads, and you can get the back end to hang out a little bit. It's not like driving a GT500, but you can get it to swing around a little bit for you, and so it's good fun. I did, like I said, I drove it on a bunch of dirt roads that are around here. Nothing like a rally course, but when I went to the Explorer Drive program on Monday, they had a sort of off-road course there, where after I'd finished with the Explorer, I took the Mach-E Rally through that course. It wasn't a very long course, but it was basically like just a trail through the woods. So this thing is not gonna do the types of things you do with a Jeep Wrangler or a Bronco. But if you have a cabin out in the woods and you've got a 2-track trail through the forest, this thing will handle that with no problem at all, as long as there's no really big rocks. So I think winter conditions, or if you've got a place out in the woods, this would be a good choice for you if you're interested in a Mach-E. The Mach-E is currently the most expensive variant, or the Rally is the most expensive variant of the Mach-E. Currently the Mach-E's start with the standard range rear wheel drive version starts at $39,995. The GT is now at $54,995. The Rally is, including delivery charge, $61,785. The one I had was in grabber blue, and with the white wheels that they put on the Rally that look like 1980s style rally, what you'd find on World Rally Championship cars. They're cool looking wheels. I like this wheel design. So the grabber blue with the white wheels and the big wing on the back, I think it looks pretty cool, and it's got couple fog lights in the front grill area, such as it is. It's not actually a grill, but just shy of 62,000. Guesses on the destination charge?
Oh,
you go first, Robbie. What?
You're not looking it up, are you? You're cheating.
You're cheating. So I just automatically.
Who, me? No, my computer's over here. I just stare over.
What do you think?
I said 15.
Oh, I didn't even hear you say 15.
Oh,
it didn't come through at all. I'm gonna go 1250.
1995.
Ooh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Significantly increased the delivery charge. So they cut the MSRP on the Mach-E's over the last year, but they jacked up the delivery charge. So you don't get all of that. Yep.
That's a scam.
Yes, it is. It is.
Because you can get a BMW XM
for half that.
Wow.
For half of that. I mean, you could buy like 4 Mach-E Rallies for the price.
You can get 3 Mach-E's for the price of 1 XM, but
yeah.
But you'll be paying $6,000 in delivery charges on those 3 Mach-E's.
Jeez, much money. That's stupid.
Yeah. That's too much money.
But But if you want the quickest Mach-E that's able to be used, in the woods or in winter driving, the Rally is the one for you. It's good fun.
That's the one.
It does look fun. It looks like a bee.
I don't like the infotainment system in those cars. I like that. I like them a lot. I like the Mach-E. I just don't like the because it just feels like it's like boom, one thing is doing one thing and that's it. Like, and then there are like little itty bitty widgets for everything else. I don't know.
Well,
I thought I initially I was like, oh, this is a cool design. Yeah. And after I was in the Mach-E a few weeks ago, and it had the little adapter and it was great. And you just went to a Tesla station and just started working, which is bonkers. But yeah, the infotainment kind of after about a week, I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's a matter of taste.
That's my big takeaway today.
But at least the vents, little tabs on there, you grab them, wherever you want.
That's the like the bar for everything. Where are the vents? How do you control them?
The vents.
And that is the new minimum standard.
Yeah, the vents.
So okay. Well, when I pulled up to that Tesla Supercharger station with the Mach-E on my way back from driving the Explorer, as I pulled into that station, there were two Hyundai Motor Group vehicles parked over there that they were wrapped in camo. And looking at them, it was pretty obvious that one was an Ioniq 5 and the other one was an EV6.
The camo doesn't really do much to like. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen the car, like, oh yeah, no, exactly.
So I mean, Kia and Hyundai have shown overseas. They have shown refreshed versions of both of those cars that are coming here for 2025. So we'll get them for the next model year. But right now, there's the ones that they're driving around here. And this location, this Supercharger, is about a 10-minute drive from HACCI, the Hyundai America Technical Center Incorporated. It's their U.S. Tech Center. So it's about 10-15 minutes from there to the Supercharger station. So around this area, you pretty regularly see Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis vehicles in various stages of camouflage out being tested. Over the last 4 or 5 months, since they put in the Magic Docks and since they started rolling out support for non-Tesla vehicles to charge there, I've been seeing more and more non-Tesla vehicles at that station. I've seen a couple of different Hummers there that it's not clear if they're being tested by somebody from GM or if it's just owners that are taking advantage of the Magic Dock there. I've seen a variety of other vehicles using the Magic Dock, and I've tested a variety of different vehicles there. But when I looked closely at these two vehicles that were sitting there, because each of them were being, they would get plugged in, they would wait a few minutes, and then the engineers would unplug them, move them to another stall, plug them in. And when I looked close, I noticed they weren't using either the Magic Dock or an adapter on there. And so after I got the Mach-E plugged in and charging, I just kind of, discreetly strolled over, walked by, pulled out my phone, snapped a couple of pictures, and noticed that the Tesla Supercharger connector was plugged in directly into a J3400 charge port on the car.
Dun dun dun.
So these are the first non-Tesla vehicles I've seen with J3400 charge ports on them, natively built into the car. So no adapters required.
Cool. I reached out to Hyundai earlier this year about Tesla charging. They said they would have their adapters out by the end of the year for Tesla supercharging. Mm-hmm. So this works well with their sort of timeline, what they want to do.
Yeah, and Hyundai did about a month and a half ago. They did announce that the first vehicle that they're going to build at their new factory in Savannah, Georgia, is going to be the Ioniq 5, and presumably, I'm guessing that they will also build EV6s there. Mm-hmm. Because they're same platform, they're pretty similar size vehicles. It would be easy to do both of those vehicles on the same line, and they're supposed to start production. They said they were going to start production of the Ioniq 5 in the fourth quarter of this year. So later this year, my guess is that they will start building the refreshed version there. That's when we'll get the refresh here in the U.S. coming out of the Georgia plant later this year with J3400 charge ports natively on the car.
That will be cool.
Yeah. So, and I'm guessing, they haven't confirmed any of this yet, but I would guess that one of the changes that they're going to make, because there's a bunch of other changes. It's not just some visual updates to the cars, but they're also getting a slightly larger battery for the extended range models, and some other tweaks. And I would not be surprised if these vehicles include changes to the charging system that allow them to charge faster on the 400 volt Tesla chargers. Because right now, existing Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis vehicles can only charge at 84 kilowatts because of the way that they use one of the windings on the rear motor as part of the circuit for the charging circuit for DC fast charging. And that's because of the way they've got that set up. That's why it only charges at 84 kilowatts. So I'm guessing they're going to make some changes that address that to allow them to charge at 240 or so kilowatts like they can on CCS chargers.
That'll be very cool. That's nice.
Yeah.
Progress.
Let's see. Also this week, Cadillac announced updates for the Escalade for 2025. Yeah, Escalade and the Escalade. So this includes the regular Escalades and the V's as well. Minor update to the front end, mostly to the lighting to bring it more in line with the design of the Lyriq and the Optic with the vertical headlight stack. The big changes though are on the inside, and I'm sure that Rose and her boyfriend are going to love this interior.
They could be so upset.
Yeah. So basically, the Escalade is getting the 55-inch coast-to-coast display from the Celestiq.
Why? Why? I can't. I don't.
Economies of scale.
But no one's asking for these giant screens. No one's like. No one's asking for a screen for the passenger. No one's ever said, I wish my car had a better scrine for the passenger.
And every time
it's never like I want more range. I want this other thing. It'd be nicer if like this thing. No one's ever like, man, if only this car had a bigger screen.
No one likes it. Every person I've ever been in a vehicle with where there's that passenger screen, nobody likes it. They're like, why do I have this? Could watch a movie. I don't want to watch a movie.
I got a phone. I don't
need that. That would have.
Can I get on TikTok with this? No. Oh.
The first time my wife got into a Jeep that had one of those, she said,
yeah.
Why is there a screen here? This is stupid.
It's just they're throwing money at a thing that no one wants.
There's some idea that like it makes it. I mean, it does look a little high tech. But I don't think your car needs to look like you're like piloting a starship down the street. Like I don't know. Unless it comes with warp drive, I don't really want something with that many screens.
Well, that's the V. That's the Escalade V.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get the 55-inch screen whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not, here's a whole lot of screen.
A whole lot of screen, and then there's extra screen.
You can watch Hulu
and
on
there's
it.
What is the smaller one I'm seeing down,
YouTube.
Like more towards where the like below the giant screen. There's more screen.
Oh yeah, there's like it looks like it's the climate
control. So you have a screen, You have giant screen, and then little wedged in there tablet-looking screen.
It looks like someone just like kind of propped up an iPad.
Did someone just leave a tablet sitting there by accident? Oh no, wait, that's part of the car.
Well, the giant screen isn't a touch screen, so you can touch stuff.
The touch. So the touch screen part is all through this little screen.
Yeah,
a lot of things.
That's the same setup. It's the exact same setup that they have in the Celestiq. So when you look at this dashboard now, all the controls, the steering wheel, the whole design of the dashboard, that center stack, it's nearly identical to the Celestiq. Except the Celestiq is a sedan that costs twice as much as this Escalade, more than twice as much.
So many confusing things.
Put my hand up so I can't see it.
But you can now get the second row executive seating package in the in the Escalade
Ooh.
for 2025.
Okay.
So that that gives you the really nice reclining seats and captain's chairs in the second row, and a full console back there with 2 more wireless charging pads for your phones, and you know what? There's another screen back there too.
Oh,
I'm fine with that back there, I guess.
And the high end audio system continues to be from AKG. So if you don't get the second row executive seating, you get 36 AKG speakers. If you get the executive seating, that number goes up to 40 because you get an extra 2 speakers in the headrests of each of the second row seats.
So
40
I
speakers.
like it when you can see the speakers. Like here, you very clearly see the speakers in the headrest, like on either side. But there was something I was in, they had the headrest. You can't see the speakers. Like they're embedded in there and there's perforated leather, but it just looks like a regular headrest. I kind of like it better when you can't see it. A little bit.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you need to see that behind you.
These look like little bug creatures with their little eyes on the side of their head.
Oh, I see it now.
Well, if you're paying this kind of money for a vehicle, you want to see what you're paying for.
Well, you'll see it.
You'll see this giant mega screen. Mega screen.
I forgot the other change, the other visual change that they've made on the front, on the outside, is the Cadillac crest in the grille. You can now get it with a lit up outline, and it's also lights up the perimeter of the grille as well. So it's a little more like the EVs.
Oh, all right.
Okay,
I like how a lot of Mercedes people did that, and then the ID4 came out.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I like things. I like the emblem or do a little extra lighting. I think lighting makes the car look snazzy. So I'm okay with the lighting.
It's like a little rave on wheels.
Party.
They did take one thing away from the Escalade for 2025. You can no longer get the 3-liter diesel 6-cylinder.
Is it because they didn't sell any?
Apparently, yeah.
No one was buying it.
We sold 4 of them.
Which is a shame because that was a fantastic engine. And it's surprisingly fuel efficient. And you could get 23, 24 miles per gallon with that diesel.
That's BMW XM range.
I know. All right.
They need that extra torque to haul that extra screen around.
Yeah. They just covered a screen. The thing would move twice as fast.
Yeah.
I forgot. The Escalade IQ also has this same screen and the same dashboard. So they're sharing that. That's probably another part of the reason why they changed this, because they're sharing that dashboard with the IQ, with the electric Escalade.
Okay.
All right. So Honda teased that there's a new Passport coming next year. It's out testing now. So when the Passport came out a few years back, probably 5 years ago now, it was basically a 2-row version of the Pilot that was supposed to be more off-roady and sporty and rugged. And so they redesigned the Pilot last year. We still have the old Passport, but there's a new one coming next year. Yeah.
It's adventure ready.
Yeah.
The most adventure ready and capable Honda SUV yet is underway.
We'll see.
All right. Sure. Adventure.
I mean, yay.
Well, yeah. It's coming. And there'll be a trail sport version.
It's hard to get excited about the Honda Passport.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure it'll be fine. Hondas are always good.
That's the thing, is like, it'll be fine.
I mean, I guess the only question is, I mean, there's so many new, more hardcore off-roaders out now, Bronco, the new Land Cruiser, the Ineos Grenadier, is Honda really going to get serious about making this a true off-roader? I mean, Honda does make serious off-road vehicles in their side-by-sides and their quads. So they're power sports vehicles, but will they actually try to make something to compete with the more on-road oriented off-road vehicles?
Do you think it will be?
I don't know.
Robbie.
I doubt it.
I think like the Ridgeline Honda knows where people are actually taking these vehicles. Like you're not really
doing off-road. You're like,
you're not doing it.
You're driving in the
get a Ridgeline
parking lot kind of thing.
It's got a trunk under. It's got a little storage capacity underneath the rear, underneath the bed. You can put things in it.
Yeah. Yay.
Put candy in there, shrimps, whatever.
Only if you use lots of ice. Keep the shrimp cold.
All right. Nicole,
Yes.
tell us about your visit to Audi.
Oh, so we went to, there's two Audi things on there. So I went to Germany a couple of weeks ago and saw a bunch of Audi goodies, not all of which I can reveal just yet, but we did get a good look at the Audi A5. And two things out of that. First, I really, we're just looking at it in a showroom, or like a stage. You don't get to drive it. You don't get to see it move. So you don't really know anything about how it's going to drive. So you have this just sort of first impression thing where you're just looking at it and going, okay, how's it look? I really liked how it looked. I think it looks really good. I think they did nice design elements. The A5 kind of kicks the A4 to the curb. It's gone. And it was all that whole naming thing, like the and I'm going to get it wrong. The odds and evens. One is gas, one is electric, and the A4 was not electric, so they couldn't keep it being the A4. And so now they just have the A5. And technically that frees up the A4 to be something else one day. Who knows, maybe. But for now, A4 is gone. We just have the A5. They did some nice stuff inside. They did a really great job with the tech inside of it. It looks really good. They have the side screen that we're all just complaining about for the passenger, which, but what I do like, they have the same thing in the e-tron, the Q6 e-tron that I drove a few weeks further back. They do. I hate that when the cars are parked or when they're not, the screen's not in use. It's just this ugly black box, like shiny black screen on the dashboard. It looks stupid. They have this sort of pattern that shows on it. So it kind of blends with the dashboard. It's like the smallest little design detail is actually really nice. And from the outside, it still very much looks like an Audi. It has the Audi design look to it. And the fun part was I learned that in Germany, they were translating all of this stuff because everyone spoke beautiful English, but they wanted to give the presentations in German, presumably so that they would make no mistake that would sound weird to us in English. And they had a translator. And at one point, the translator says to us, so the designer's like, and this chocolate side here, and we're like, I'm sorry, what? And we all thought he made a mistake. Like he clearly did not translate the words correctly, because what the heck is a chocolate side? And we discovered that, like, we say good side, like show me your good side, you get a good side in a picture. Apparently in Germany, chocolate side is a phrase that means the same thing. I can totally get behind this idea. The chocolate side of something is like the sweet side, the good side. So it was kind of fun. Yeah. So it was kind of fun. We were all like, you must have translated that wrong. He's like, no, that's what he said. It's like, what did I say? Because he could understand all of us. So yeah, we discovered that apparently it's only a German thing. Nobody else. There was a guy from Spain. There's a guy from Italy. All these people we just say good side. So it's a very German thing to say that. So the designers, were talking about the things they did to make it for how it looked. And they were also talking about the fact that, we're still going to have gas and powertrains. We're not just going to be, they're not going to be electric overnight. Like Audi sees it as being electric is where we're going. That's their end goal. But I think they're really cognizant of the fact that, electric is not happening tomorrow and that they have to get there slowly but surely. So gas engines, not disappearing tomorrow morning. They're still here. They'll have hybrids. They'll have electrics. So we're still getting a mix of stuff from Audi. So it was an interesting presentation. There are a couple other vehicles that we got to see. I like how this looks. They gave us back our exhausts that are actually exhaust. Remember how the exhausts weren't like the exhaust outlet?
There was nothing flowing through them.
There was nothing flowing through them, and people were like, rage. And now they actually work. They're like real exhausts. So everyone's like, yay. It was much rejoicing.
Rage.
I didn't know people were so ragey about it until like after the fact. I'm like, well, people are mad about that. And I'm like,
people get mad about a lot of weird things.
You never were like, I rage
just like things. You're just like, why are you so angry about this?
I'm really angry about vents that you have to control on the infotainment screen. So I feel
that's a legitimate thing to be angry about.
That's okay.
I guess.
If you're not,
I like when people got really angry. You get the little front spoiler protectors.
Oh, I get angry about those new those yellow things. They always
why?
It's just
why?
It looks stupid.
I mean, if you're not angry about the vents, there is something fundamentally wrong with you.
Yeah, if you're not angry about vents, that's a thing to really be angry about.
Is there
that's the thing you actually
likes them? I wonder if we have any listeners have a car that has
somebody must.
It actually says they're the best thing ever. If you're that person, let us know. We'll think you're crazy. But let us know if you're the one.
They're not going to talk. They're not going to out themselves now
out yourself.
because they're like, oh no, these three are going to make fun of me. They're going to call my mom and tell her that she did a bad job at raising me.
You can be like I don't know, Micah 479 airfare or something. Like make up a name. Like it doesn't have to be your actual name.
It's like
a Twitter account or something. We'll never know who you are.
Hello, I'm John Smith, and I like software defined.
We need to do one of those things where like his real voice, the real voice sounds like me, and it's like yes.
They had the dark
and it's
the
like this
background,
weird
black
blobby black thing over your face, like it's like
they're wearing a hat.
Wanted, they're hiding the witness. Yeah, we could do that. I just want to know if anyone actually likes those stupid air vents. I did not have those at Audi. It's okay. And they did have some cool stuff that they showed us that was kind of, we've talked about this before. There's things that they get in Europe that we can't get in the US. Once again, they have cool stuff we can't have. And one of the cool stuff we can't have is the lights on the back of the vehicle. We kind of get it, but we don't get all of it. So you can go into the infotainment screen and you can change the pattern of the lights. You can set different patterns and it changes a little bit what's in the headlight up in the front and the back. But there's set patterns. Like here's pattern 1 for front and back. Here's pattern 2 for front and back. Here's pattern 3. When the car is stopped, you go in there, you can play with it and you can pick one. In Europe, some of those patterns actually change. Like while you're driving, they sort of have this sort of like pixelated kind of motion to them. We can't have that. So ours can be changed when we're stopped to set pattern, but they cannot do the cool little, and they even
can't be dynamic.
They can't be dynamic. And you can't, like, they even had one where it showed if you push the hazard lights in the car, it puts a little triangle in there, like a hazard light in your.
Yeah, I think this lighting system is made by Morelli.
Yeah.
And I got a demo of this at CES last year.
Yeah.
They showed, they didn't say which automaker was going to be implementing it first, but they kind of hinted at it, and that it was Audi. And they showed us this demo. Yeah, things like the little triangle for the hazard lights and
that was
various other things. Yeah.
There was some other stuff that I can talk about later. There was more stuff that I'm like, dang it, why can't we have nice things? They're like, this is really cool. Yeah, yours doesn't look like that. Gosh, dang it, why are you teasing me? Like, I can't get that either. So it's like on other stuff that we looked at. So I'll talk about later, because you can find some of the cool stuff. You can see examples. I'm sure you can see these online. If you look at Europeans and sites and stuff, you'll be able to see what they're getting that we can't get.
Those darn Europeans.
Those darn Europeans.
Up till now, for like the last, 20 years or so, Audi has been using the even numbers, like A4, A6, A8 for the traditional 3-box sedans. And then the odds have been for like coupes and sportback models. And now it looks like there's no, kind of traditional sedan anymore. Or at least what they're calling the sedan is more, fastback, sportback.
It's not. Yeah. So the odd numbers are now gas. The even numbers are now EVs. That's why the A4 had to go away. So that's, like they've said, that's how that odd even number thing is going to work.
Q4 e-tron, which is based on the ID4.
And they're also keeping e-tron. So we asked, like, is e-tron the name e-tron? Because if you've made it so odd numbers are gas and even numbers are electric, you've already told everybody that it's electric without having to put e-tron in front, like along with it. But they've said that e-tron is so recognizable that for the foreseeable future, e-tron is staying. So you'll have e-tron along with the, the number and letter designation. E-tron's going nowhere. So you have both. What they showed off to, like for the A5, they have what they're calling, they're calling it a sedan, but they used to call it a sportback. So it was kind of like a hatchback, but they're calling it a sedan here, but it's not really a sedan. It's like a hatchback. And they also have a wagon that they call an Avant, because why could we just call things easy things?
Well, Audi's always called their wagons Avant.
Right.
That's
but I mean, they have all these names, like all these names that, like, regular people, if you don't know the name, if you don't know the Audi lingo, you're like, what? Yeah. What are we talking about? But the Avant, which is the wagon, is just a Europe thing. We're not getting that. So we're just getting what they're calling the sedan. But it's and they used to call the sportback, and it's what I think most Americans would probably call a hatchback. So
is there There are no more coupe and convertible A5.
No more coupe and convertible. We're just getting, as far as I know, and from what they've told us there, it's just going to be this one body style, just the sedan. Sorry, I want to call it a hatchback. Just the sedan. So they're making some changes, and I think part of it they're trying to make the lineup, even just in the number of trims and stuff, they're trying to make the lineup a little bit make sense as they start moving to electric and have the things that people most want and sort of simplify things a little bit and make them a little easier to follow. So that's all part of what you're seeing, and you will be seeing as things are, coming over the coming months. Because they had, like I said, I wasn't there to see just one vehicle. I was there to see quite a few things, and this is just the first one that the embargo lifts. So there's more stuff that they are doing that's all really cool. So as those embargoes lift, I'll chat about those too.
Okay.
Oh, and there any it was kind of funny. The Spain team that won the Euro Cup or whatever, they were at our hotel. Talk about chaos.
Oh, really?
Yes, they were at our hotel, and it was like an act of God to get into the hotel. Like, why are you coming in? I'm like, because I'm staying here. Prove it. I'm like, the room key is a white piece of plastic with no hotel name. I'm like, this is all I got. So it was but
this is your fault, mister.
Yeah. I'm like, it's your fault. Put your hotel name on your card. So it was an interesting challenge. So yeah, we got to see, and then I'll walked out with their game face. Like, we're going to win. And they did. So it was kind of cool.
Good for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Soccer.
Football
for them.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Speaking of nice things that we can't have, the Lexus LBX. Have either of you ever heard of the LBX before?
LBX?
Nope.
I've never even heard of it. Where is it on your list? Oh, there it is. I see it. Sorry, I totally missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the LBX is a compact, like a really compact crossover. It's based on the Yaris Cross, which is kind of like the Corolla Cross, but even smaller.
Okay.
So this is I think a Japan only model.
It's super.
LBX.
Look at that little thing. That looks fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And now they're adding a new variant to the LBX, the Morizo RR, which has the same powertrain that was in the GR Corolla Morizo edition, but it's not quite as hardcore as the Corolla, the GR Corolla Morizo, which had no back seat. It had almost no sound deadening material in there. Rear windows didn't roll down, none of that stuff. So they put all the good stuff from the GR Corolla Morizo into this LBX Morizo RR, and also kept all the other stuff that makes it a Lexus.
That make it a car you actually want to drive, not just on a track.
Yeah. This is something you might actually want to drive on a daily basis.
I need to take the rear seats out of my BRZ. So I don't care
those
about
seats you absolutely should ditch because they're useless.
You can't do anything with. Yeah, you can't sit back there. They're impossible.
Yeah, the dogs don't even like sitting back there because there's like a big dip, and then there's the tunnel, and then a big dip. They're like, I don't like it back here.
Doggos, you're torturing them.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, rear seats. They're for suckers, and people with friends.
But the LBX Morizo RR does have rear seats, and your friends can actually sit in them.
It looks it looks like it should be a very fun car. Even the styling on it looks like a fun little car.
Yeah. And unlike the GR Corolla Morizo, this one, in addition to the 6-speed manual, there's also a direct shift 8-speed automatic available. And then you get the all-wheel drive and 300 plus horsepower in this thing. It looks like it would be it'd be a good time.
But it's going to be impossible to get. I'm reading there are 100 units of this.
200.
Additional. Oh, 200. So 200 units? That's really tiny. That's not a very many.
Yeah. Well, they only sell them in Japan anyway. Yeah. I mean, there were only 200 of the GR Corolla Morizos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
100 units. I guess, that sounds like such a small number in the U.S., but I guess in Japan, that's not quite as small a number.
This thing looks like it'd be good for a few laughs.
It would definitely be good for a few laughs. That would be a hoot to drive that. Just the style. If it drives as fun as it looks, that would be a hoot.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk a little bit more Ford. this week, Ford made an interesting announcement about their Oakville assembly plant. So a year and a half ago, more than that, I think, they announced that they were going to end production of the Edge and the Nautilus, the Ford Edge and the Lincoln Nautilus, at the Oakville assembly plant, and that they were going to convert in 2024. They were going to convert that plant over to building EVs, and this was supposed to be the home of the new 3-row electric SUVs that Ford was going to build. So an Explorer Aviator size pair of SUVs, one for Ford, one for Lincoln. We're now more than halfway through 2024. The plant has not been retooled to build those vehicles. It will not be retooled to build those vehicles. Instead, Ford has decided to put production of those vehicles, which have been delayed from 2025 to 2027, somewhere else. And so they could go to Quadelon, where they build the Mach-E's, could go to Dearborn, where they build the Lightning. Who knows? Or somewhere else entirely. They could do them in Chicago, where the Explorer and Aviator are built now. But Oakville is not going to be left out in the lurch, because Ford currently is selling every Super Duty truck that they can build, between their Kansas City assembly plant and the Lorain, Ohio assembly plant, where they build the heavier duty, the F550, F650, F700 trucks.
Mega trucks.
So they needed more capacity for more Super Duties, because Super Duties make Ford a lot of money. And because they're mostly bought by commercial fleets, in addition to making a lot of money on the sale of the vehicle, they also make a lot of money on selling those fleets Ford Pro services. So they want more production of Super Duties, and that's what they're going to do in Oakville. Starting from 2026, the plant's going to be retooled next year over the course of 2025 to build Super Duties for 2026. And they also said that there are going to be electrified Super Duties.
Ooh.
I mean, if you have a fleet and you're hauling things maybe 50 miles, like around a town or a regional area, you could throw a EV in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to be an EV. Ford has previously said
they'll do a hyper. They'll do a Ram supercharged.
That's what I think. Like a Ram Charger, EREV, extended range EV, and maybe just regular hybrids too. So based on what they have in the F-150, like the Power Boost style hybrids, and extended range EVs. So with a bigger battery and an engine that just works as a range extender.
I wonder how long they'll do that. I wonder how. So you're a fleet person. You buy, let's say, a town. You buy 15 of these with the range extender. After 5 years, you're looking to update your stuff. You look at the miles that these things are actually driving, and you probably say to yourself, you know what? Instead of having 2 powertrains, I could probably just get away with one and then just go to EVs.
Well,
I feel like it's going to be a stepping, you're going to have mixed fleets.
Well, a lot of those municipal fleets, they're already using Lightnings. They're actually getting fairly common in those fleets. But I think where we're going to see like the range extenders is for things like utility bucket trucks. Because those things, these are built on like an F550 chassis. Like my neighbor is building his overlanding rig on one of those. And so those are typically sold as chassis cabs. So you get just the cab on the front, and the back end is just a bare chassis, and they put all kinds of different stuff on there. So they use them for like tow trucks, but also bucket trucks that electric utilities use to get the crews up, to fix the broken wires and things like that, and replace transformers. And those things, when they're on a job site, when they're on a site fixing stuff, typically, they're sitting there with the engine idling, to drive the pumps, the hydraulic pumps to move these things up and down and all that sort of stuff. Doing an EREV version of that would actually make a lot of sense, because then they could use the battery to do that, and the truck doesn't have to sit there idling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange and exciting world.
Yeah. So those are coming from 2026. And then the last bit of Ford stuff is I get to drive the new Explorer, the 2025 Explorer, which is, contrary to what they say, not all new.
It's not.
Not even close to all new.
It's not even really all new. Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's got a new front fascia, new taillights. The interior actually is pretty substantially new.
That's much
where the
better.
big changes.
I thought it was much better. It was greatly improved.
Oh yeah, yeah. The interior is a big change. So one of the problems with when they launched the current generation Explorer back in 2019, one of the issues with it was still a lot of hard plastics in there, but also that center touchscreen. The current Explorer still uses Sync 3, and so I'm pretty sure that they won't acknowledge this, but I'm pretty sure that when they designed it, they originally designed it only for the 8-inch screen, which was the standard screen on the Explorer, and then at some point in the program, they decided, we need to have a bigger screen. We're going to need to put a 10-inch screen in there. But the problem is the way they had the dashboard designed, the center vents were actually on either side of that 8-inch screen. So you couldn't put a larger screen in there without completely re-engineering the dashboard and moving those vents. And so what they ended up doing was the 8-inch screen is horizontal. It's a landscape style. The 10-inch screen was portrait style because that was the biggest screen that they could fit in that same space in between the vents.
Yeah.
And if you've ever driven an Explorer with that 10-inch screen, the interface always seemed a little unfinished.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't really using the space that you had on the screen effectively. Well, now both of those screens are gone. The Explorer is the first Ford brand vehicle to get the new Ford digital experience.
Ooh.
The Sync name is gone. No more Sync. So this is not Sync 5. This is the Ford digital experience, which is their branding for their new Android automotive.
Sounds like a planetarium.
Yeah. So it's the system it's their new Android automotive system with Google services and everything in there. So it's basically the same. It's the same software that's in the new Nautilus. This is the first Ford to have it, but instead of the pillar-to-pillar screen that they have in the Nautilus, they just have a regular 13-inch touchscreen in the middle. The vent has now been moved down, and they're underneath the screen, the center vents. And what's really nice is there's this nice little shelf that they built underneath the vents. So there's a row of some physical controls underneath the vents. So you got the volume switch and the auto park and the hazard lights and the camera and the traction control off button. And then this nice little shelf under there. And that's where they put the wireless charging pad. If you have a trim level,
it's actually
that on there.
Fantastic because you can fit 2 phones there. There's a wireless charging pad, but there's a slot right next to it where you can put another phone. A little piece that sort of keeps them separated. And there's also a piece to the front. It sort of curves up ever so slightly. So you don't have to worry about them sliding into each other or just like sliding off into the car. So they're nicely secured. And it's a nice spot. It's like it's a unique place to have them that high. They're higher than they are in most cars. It's a good spot. And you're probably also less likely to space it, walk halfway to the car and go, dang it, and have to reach back in,
turn around,
grab your phone because it's sort of right at.
It's a little landing port for
It is a little landing port for. It's actually really nice. I like that.
You can also store your game controller there because you can play games on the system when the car is parked. So you get Asphalt 5, I think, and there's a few other games that are available that you can play on there while you're sitting there waiting in line to pick up your kids after school, things like that.
So the Ford Explorer is a cop car. So if someone's driving a black Ford Explorer, everyone's slowing down around you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, because of these games with the new Ford Explorer, just cops playing video games.
Yep.
B.
Yeah.
Serve and get the high score on asphalt.
So overall the interior is much nicer. The materials are nicer. There's now padded surfaces on the side of the center console. So if your knee is resting up against that, it's not resting against a hard plastic surface. There's a little bit of padding there. So it feels nicer, looks nicer, much improved interior.
Yeah, I thought the interior was like, it wasn't just like even a small change. It was dramatic. It looks so much better. It's just like you're talking about how the screen is integrated now. It makes much more sense. All the soft touch surfaces, just the look of it. They did a fantastic job making, because the old one I thought looked kind of
cheap.
It looked cheap.
Especially for, something that can easily cost you, $50,000 to $60,000.
Which is not cheap. Yeah. It had not cheap pricing, but cheap interior look to it. And I think they've fixed that. I think it looks so much nicer than it did before. It's been a while since I've opened an Explorer and thought like, well, that's actually really nice. This one, that's exactly what you think. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Like the Mach-E, it's got the B&O sound system in there, with the soundbar style set up across the dash. Unlike the Mach-E, it actually doesn't sound very good. Sounds kind of flat. So
you think I didn't think it's, you know what? I don't know that I said it would sound flat, but I didn't listen to it and think like, wow, this is great. I was like, it sounds fine.
Kind of mediocre.
It was like so. Yeah. I wonder why.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they can tune that a little more, but yeah, it didn't sound great.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see. Powertrains. Civilians can no longer buy an Explorer with the hybrid. That's now reserved only for cop cars and fleets, because they really like them. And apparently the civilians, regular customers, weren't buying very many of them. So they said, okay, fine. We'll just have the 4-cylinder and the V6s for regular people, and cops can have all the hybrids. So you get the choice of the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost, or the 3-liter V6 with 300 or 400 horsepower. And then you also have Blue Cruise on here, which it's the same as Blue Cruise on an F-150 or a Mach-E or on a Lincoln. So it has the same complaints. And I want to give a shout out to Kevin at Ford. Kevin is a listener of the show and also happens to be head of the Blue Cruise team at Ford.
Oh, I have a comment for him, Kevin, if you're listening. So when I was driving,
Blue Cruise.
And I had it in, I was using Blue Cruise, and it's supposed to now, I guess we as humans don't want the car to really be centered when we're passing something really big or something really big is passing us. We kind of want to move a little bit to the side, a little off center. Not like we leave the lane, but like you're going to hug the left lane a little bit more if there's a great big truck in the right lane. So it's supposed to sort of notice that and not like jerk you to one side all of a sudden, but just edge you ever so slightly to the side so that you feel more comfortable intuitively. I happen to use it to change lanes, a little automatic lane change thing. Like I told it I wanted it to change lanes. It waited to make sure that it was clear. And it took me to the left-hand lane. And I was passing when they're moving the houses, like the prefab houses that are just a little too wide.
Oh, yeah.
So I was
wide load
with a little, with the trucks on either side with the flashing lights. So I'm passing this wide load, and it did move me further. Like it did it right. I thought, am I going to feel like I'm so close? Because I was ready to take the wheel. I'm like, I got to adjust this. It nicely moved me a little further. So I was further to the left so that it felt like this giant wide load on the right was not intrusive. I'm like, that was perfect. Like it was exactly what I would have done in terms of how it changed the lane and how it moved. Like, okay, I'm going to give you some extra room because this thing's huge, and move me further to the left to keep me from feeling squished up against this. So gold star, Kevin.
Gold star for Kevin.
Yes.
Yeah, Kevin and I had a long conversation about Blue Cruise and what's good about it, and my complaints about it as well.
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, he's aware of them now, and hopefully he'll get them fixed in a few weeks.
Whether he likes it or not, he knows.
Yeah. No, Kevin, thanks for listening to the show and keep listening. The system has gotten a lot better since it first launched.
Mm-hmm.
There's still things to fix, some of which she acknowledged are issues. But hopefully, over the next year or two, we'll start to see some of those things get addressed. Just keep cracking away at it. So thanks, Kevin. Let's see. And I think Was there anything else you wanted to? What did you think about the off-road course with the Explorer?
Oh, it was a very short course, but we did have you drove it. You were the wave before me. My wave the night before, we had thunderstorms that felt like the sky was going to split open and swallow the state of Michigan. So it like poured rain. So there was some real mud for us. So even though it was a short course,
it was dry when we went through.
Oh, it was muddy for us. It was really, really muddy. So I don't know if Ford meant for it to be that, like, clearly, like, luck of the draw, we got the rain. It was really, really muddy. It was there were a couple spots where it was kind of squirrely. And if you wanted to, you could get stuck potentially in something, because it's just, and I think we all did the same thing. That's the worst part right there. Let's drive through that and see what it does. We're all driving through it, making it more and more rutted on every lap. But it did do nice. It actually, I felt like it handled pretty well in that mud, the kind of mud that would, some all-wheel drive systems and such would not be really keen to take a big vehicle like that through. It was a very short course. It wasn't like we were off-roading like, real hardcore off-roader, but it did manage that, which is probably the most you're ever going to manage. Most people are not really doing anything crazy, but it was if you had like a dirt road that you live on, or if you had a muddy field you had to drive through because you're going to a cabin or whatever. I thought it actually did pretty good.
Yeah. And the Explorers that they had that are currently available, there's 4 trim levels. There's the XLT is gone. Now the base trim level is active. And then there's ST line, Platinum, and ST is the performance version. There's no real off-road version currently available. Back in April or March, when they first showed this to us, several months ago, and they did the backgrounder on it, they teased an image. I can't remember if they've shown this one publicly. I think the image is out there. That the image that they showed was just a picture of one wheel and said, coming, I think, late this year. And the wheel that's on there on this other variant of the Explorer that's coming has an orange or bronze paint around one of the pockets on the wheel, which is the same look that they have on the Tremor, the Ranger Tremor, and the Maverick Tremor. So I'm guessing that the former Timberline is being replaced by a new Tremor trim level that will be the more off-road oriented, because everybody now has got to have an off-road oriented trim level for their SUVs.
You have to, even if it's very little bit off-roadier than your other one, you got to do some tiny little thing.
Yeah. Honda's got Trail Sport, and Chevy's got Z71, and there's all
Subaru has their own thing. Wilderness, aren't those?
Wilderness
from Subaru, yeah. Everybody's got something.
We'll probably see an Explorer Tremor before the end of the year for those that need a little more, at least want some all-terrain tires or something from the factory, because none of the current trim levels have anything that you would consider an off-road tire. They're just regular all-season tires.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that is it for this week. Anything else that we need to cover?
Nothing on my end.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
We will talk to you. Well, actually, they will talk to you next time, because I'm going to be on vacation.
He's going on vacation, and I get to do all I get to record stuff. I have the passwords, guys.
Nicole's in charge next week.
They won't put me in charge because it'd just be chaos. I'm like, okay, this podcast is going to be hosted by a dog and a ferret that I found in a bucket.
No dogs, no ferrets. Just you, me, and I believe we have a guest next week. TBA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jill will be here.
Jill. Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay. Excellent.
Yep. Someone will be here.
Well, I wasn't sure he confirmed. I was going to wait. Sam announced it. Jill, yay.
Yeah. So, Jill will be here next week.
Excellent. Well, enjoy your vacation, Sam.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully my plane will be able to take off from Detroit and actually get there.
Fingers crossed. I think that's all gotten smoothly now, more smooth. So you should be good.
Okay. Well, I hope so. All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.